Salutations, and welcome to you, you beautiful souls. Thank you for joining me here on Mr. Microcosm. Nosce to ipsum. Today, I would like to get a little bit further into the concept of the microcosm before moving on into new grounds. The first source that I have prepared for you is from the oldest of the Brahmic scriptures, the Upanishads. The light that shines above the heavens and above this world, the light that shines in the highest world, beyond which there are no others. That is the light that shines in the hearts of men. Truly has this universe come forth from Brahma. In Brahma it lives and has its being. In this faith, Brahma is the one God, or the universe, and the part of you that is Brahma is known as the Atman. The next of the Brahmic scriptures is the Rig Veda, and then we move into the Bhagavad Gita eventually. Hinduism is often misconstrued as a polytheistic faith because of its trimurti, which is Shiva, Vishnu, and Ganesh. But these three are really just aspects or avatars, incarnations of Brahma. And in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is cited as the ultimate personality of the Godhead. But Krishna is really just an avatar of Vishnu. Krishna has a manifest and a non-manifested form. Like Christ, he was given birth to by a woman, lived a human life. And during this life, he gives discourses to Arjuna on personal liberation. And this is what the Bhagavad Gita consists of. Before we move on with the Gita, I want to circle back to the Trimurti, this power of three. We see paralleled in the Abrahamic religions with the Holy Trinity, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. We also see it in many other systems of thought and faiths and mythologies. I want to reference some Ralph Waldo Emerson. This is an excerpt from his essay, The Poet. For the universe has three children, born at one time, which reappear under different names in every system of thought, whether they be called cause, operation, and effect, or more poetically, Jove, Pluto, and Neptune, or theologically, the Father, the Spirit, and the Son, but which we will call here the knower, the doer, and the sayer. These stand respectively for the love of truth, the love of good, and the love of beauty. These three are equal. Each is that which he is essentially, so that he cannot be surmounted or analyzed. And each of these three has the power of the others latent in him, and his own patent. Now, this law of three is everywhere. In scientific monism, it says the three universal states are energy, matter, and mind. We also see the active or positive and the passive, which is negative, and the neutral. There is the triad of Orpheus, which is life, being, and intellect. We see the Tripitaka, which is practices of meditation, morality, and knowledge. On the emerald tablet of Hermes, the top line says Charam Talat Mekasat in large letters. But in the smaller print underneath, it goes on to say that the universe is one in nature, but three in aspect. God is known to be omnipotent, omnipotent, and omnipresent. These are the three universal states. Everything is energy. All matter is nothing but energy condensed to a certain vibration. Everything has a mind. Even chemicals and minerals show chemical affinity, which is their will and mind. They choose which others to bond with, and that's how everything is created and formed. We see a seed has the mind and knowledge, and it knows how to grow into a tree. And this seed and tree are different versions of the macrocosm and the microcosm. Now, Charam Talat Mekasat, that first line on the emerald tablet, is Chaldean. In the Hebrew translation, it is Haram. And Haram Abif is the main aspect, the main figure in the Masonic legends. Haram and Biff is given the tracing board by the universe himself and charged with constructing the temple. Haram then creates the three ruffians: thought, desire, and action. And they take the tools that they were given to help him build the temple and they strike him down. It is then on them to find a way to resurrect him. Solomon from the Bible, King Solomon, actually resurrects him, and that's how Solomon is able to create the Temple of Solomon, which was a great structure at the time. We're not going to get any further into Haram or any of that. I just wanted to bring it up because of its parallel with the Law of Three. Now back to the Bhagavad Gita, which translates into the universal song. Now, Carl Sagan said that science is not unreconcilable with spirituality. In fact, science is a source of spirituality. So, the universal song, or science calls this place that we live in the universe. Uni is one, verse is song, one song, the celestial song, the one God. It doesn't matter what you call it, it's ubiquitous. Now, we're going to move into the one God itself. Back to the Brahmic scriptures and the Upanishads. It says that Om is the universal syllable. And in the Abrahamic Bible, it says that God in the beginning was the Word, and that the Word was with man. We all know the power of a word. They can be helpful or harmful. They can be healing or pernicious. Words are magic. That's why we call it spelling. But words are merely symbols, and all symbols have layers. We're going to bring it back to three now. These layers, the teachings, there is the exoteric, the esoteric, and the ineffable. The exoteric is the part that everybody can see and understand. The esoteric is seen and understood by only the educated. Now, esoteric and occult are kind of synonymous. People think that occult is darker than it usually is, but it comes from its Latin origin, which is cultus, which means to cultivate. And when you look at the other part of the word, ak, which is I, it's basically we see this cultivated knowledge. So this part of the symbol is only accessible to those that have cultivated the eye to see it. And then, finally, there is the ineffable, which is the part of the mystery that can never be conveyed by words, which is why so many of the esoteric writers hide things between the lines, because you can't come out and say it outright. The only reason why they write it at all and break the oral traditions is because oftentimes they don't find someone to pass it down to. W.B. Yeats said that whenever he was trying to tell the fairy secrets, that they would turn, he would have writer's block because the fairies turn your tongue to stone. And this is just his way of conveying the ineffable. This is why Isis is veiled. You can see through a veil because it's thin by nature, but you can never get the entire picture. The ineffable is the truth of the universe. And this truth is a paradox. It has to be experienced. Ram Dass said that to those that have had the experience, no explanation is required. But to those that haven't, no explanation will work. So, back to the word itself. These words, as powerful as they can also be meaningless. All communication is an encoding and a decoding. We have to try to encode something for our audience. And hopefully they'll get the message. And if not, then it's up to them. Or, we can try and try again. But if they don't get it the first time, it's probably because they haven't experienced it the same way. And until they do, they're always going to see the exoteric part of that. We can never directly transmute truth. It has to be lived and experienced. In the book of Matthew, Matthew asks Jesus why he teaches with stories. And Jesus says, well, the 12 of you, when I tell you something, you listen. But everybody else is like a child. They have to be entertained a little. You gotta teach them a story. So it's basically like, some of you are probably parents. You probably understand. You tell a little kid to brush their teeth and they're all like, no, I don't want to do that. That sounds like work. But you invent the story of the cavity creeps and all of a sudden they're in there, fighting the cavity creeps. And it's the same thing with the pagan mythologies. You see, you tell your children that now is the right time to sow the seeds and they're like, I don't want to do the work. But you create an entire religion around it and rites and rituals and parties, and they're all about it. Now this is what we got to do. We've got to find a way to convey these teachings in a package that people are going to pick up. So that's all I can really convey to you at the moment. I just want to say that you've got to remember who you are. Khalil Gibran said that the timeless in you is aware of the timelessness in life. That will be a good place for us to end this evening. Thank you for joining me here. And until next time, please take care of yourselves and take care of each other. Much love.